Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laetitia, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why I knew that I was pregnant before taking my positive test. If you're interested, keep on watching. So my daughter is playing on the playmat right next to me right now, so if you hear a little bit of background noise, a little bit of baby noise, that's why she's right next to me. But let's get into this. So I had two failed tests. By the time I was like 2 days before my period, I was still pretty sure that I was pregnant, although I had two negative tests beforehand. And I'm going to tell you why I thought that. So before trying to conceive, I started tracking my cycles. I will make a video about that just so that you know, but basically if you're interested about tracking your cycles and doing it the proper way, definitely get a hold of that book that I'm going to share. This is a book that literally changed my life, so I definitely advise that you go ahead and check it out. But I followed that method. For a year beforehand, I just learned how to read my body's signs, and because of that I knew when something was wrong or something was different. So this is why I was able to read the signs. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, and I have no scientific explanation for this to be honest, but the first thing I noticed was that my temperature did not rise the next day after ovulation. I was pretty sure that I had ovulated, and my temperature did not rise the next day or the day after that or the day after that. So I was like, okay, this is odd because it's supposed to, but maybe something's going on in my body that makes it not happen. I don't know. If you have any explanation for that, please let me know. But my temperature rose every single time after ovulation for 13 months before that, and all of a sudden it did not. So that was the first clue. I was like, okay, well maybe that worked, but I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. At the time my husband was sick. He was sleeping in the living room just to make sure that I wouldn't get sick, but I thought maybe I'm sick and maybe there's something going on with my temperature, I don't know. But I was like, okay, let's not get my hopes up, but this is odd because this has never happened to me before. So the next clue I had was, okay, TMI guys, really sorry, but I mean, we're talking about pregnancy and stuff, so yeah. But basically my CM, my cervical mucus, was still very egg whitey. And if you know anything about what it's supposed to be like, once you ovulate and if you have no baby preparing over there in your belly, well, it's not supposed to be that way anymore, and it stayed that way for 3 more days. So I was like, ooh, interesting that my temperature did not rise and that my CM is still so egg whitey for so many days after ovulation. This is interesting. And the last thing, and all of the things I learned from the book, by the way, so definitely go ahead and read that book. It's going to change your life if you don't know anything about that. But I noticed that my cervix was still very soft and low, which usually after ovulation, usually like a day after ovulation, it would be kind of like hard and high. So it was still so soft. I was like, oh, maybe. So I was getting my hopes up, and I waited until I was like 6 days before the period to take a test. So I took that test like 6 days before your missed period test, blah blah blah. Negative. I remember how my heart was pounding so fast because I was sure. I was like, I'm pregnant. It's going to read pregnant, and I was like, I'm so excited. And then I looked at the test and it was like negative. So I was like, okay, this is odd because I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And my husband was like, oh, too bad, it's okay, we just started trying, it's fine. I was like, yeah, but I think I am. And he was like, come on, the test just said you're not. So I just said, okay, whatever, I can still take it in 3 days because that's what they say on the box, like you can always have a false negative. So just wait 3 days and then try again. So I waited 3 days. In the meantime though, exactly the same day, actually, when I took that test, the same day I noticed like a sharp pain in my lower belly on the right. Basically that's where I felt my ovulation a few days earlier, and because I always felt my ovulation on the right, And it was kind of painful that day. I was like, oh, well, maybe, come on, just, no, it can't be that. So I kind of forgot about that, but honestly, that was another clue for me. But yeah, so I felt that sharp pain in my lower belly, and I was like, okay, I've read somewhere that could be implantation. So it would make sense that if the egg just implanted right now, that my test was negative this morning, maybe that's why. I was like, okay, maybe that's it. And at the same time, I actually I felt like I was getting sick, because I had like a high fever, my head was achy, and I felt like maybe I was just making it up. And but I was still like kind of half convinced, if that makes any sense. I was like, yes, but I still think I'm pregnant. But at the same time, I felt like maybe I was just getting sick and maybe I was just making it up. But I felt that sharp pain, and I was like, my husband has a cold. It has nothing to do with his gut or anything. So it feels weird, and maybe. So yeah, I didn't know. And then I started feeling that very weird metal taste in my mouth. I didn't know it was metal at first, but I read everywhere that people had a metal taste, and I was like, yeah, it's a little metallic, but I don't know, I've never really tasted anything metallic before, I'm not sure, but it just was very weird. It didn't feel like food, or yeah, it was a very weird taste in my mouth. It was so weird, and I read everywhere that it was a sign of pregnancy. So I was still like, just, oh yeah, I think this is it. So 3 days later, I take the test, and I was very, very sure that it would say that I was pregnant. It was negative. It was negative, like so negative. So at that point, it was, I had that very, very strong confidence that I was pregnant, and then 2 tests telling me, no, you're not. And implantation, from my own understanding and calculation, had happened already. So I was kind of like defeated. I was like, but I was sure that I was pregnant. What the hell is going on? At that point, my husband was like, okay, you're just not pregnant. You're just getting sick. It's fine. Let's just move on and forget about that. I was like, yeah, let's forget about that. We'll just wait for my missed period. We'll wait for it. I had never had a missed period in my entire life. Like, my period are very regular. Ever since I was 14, I've had a period every 26 days. That's just it. So I waited for it. I waited. And something that I noticed, actually the same day I took that second test, was that I got some very mild, like very light bleeding, like spotting. It was brownish. And I was like, oh, hey, that looks like implantation bleeding. I've never had that before. I've never had anything outside of my period. I've never had any blood in my underwear. So that's interesting. I had spotting again the next day. So I was like, okay, this, too many signs, guys. Too many signs. And nothing had happened to me before. Everything was brand new. I just thought, I am pregnant, man. Like, I don't know. And then the last thing that really did the trick for me, and I was like, and that's why you really need to know your body. You really need to know how your body works. That way you're able to actually read the signs and know that something is going on. And I have never been hungry in the morning. Now I'm hungry every morning because I'm breastfeeding and everything. But before, even when I was a child, I never was hungry in the morning. And then all of a sudden, I was so hungry. I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, why am I so hungry? It's 6 a.m. I was so hungry. And I was like, okay, maybe my body is just getting ready to get fat and stuff. Maybe it's time for me to actually grow a baby. So, yeah, all of those signs compiled made me feel like I was pregnant, although I had those 2 negative tests. And I could not find anybody talking about false negatives and still having a baby afterwards. So I felt a little isolated, like, oh, maybe I'm just making it up. Okay, so my baby has joined the chat again. I had not shared the fact that we were trying with anybody, so I couldn't really talk about that topic. So I just kept it to myself. And I don't know, I felt like I knew, but at the same time, you've taken 2 negative tests. It's like, well, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm not pregnant. So I was getting myself ready to just start again, to try for another month. And then I waited, and on the day when I was supposed to get my period, I did not get it. I waited all day. I was like, okay, I'm never late, but sometimes it happens at night, so let's wait. And at night, didn't get anything. Next morning, didn't get anything. I had bought a third test. By the way, they're so expensive. I had no idea. But I bought myself another test the day before, and I was like, I'm not taking it until I'm at least one day late. Then second day, no period, no nothing. Took the test, and I was preggo. I was so happy. I was like, I knew it. So that's it, guys. It made me feel first super happy because I really wanted my child. But also I was like, you know what? It is possible to know your body. If you want to know how I got myself ready and how I managed to get pregnant on the first try, I made a video. I will just link it somewhere here on the screen. But yeah, it is possible to know your body. If, of course, you're healthy and you have no fertility issues, it is possible. So yeah, that is it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Of course, I'm not a professional or anything. I just wanted to get pregnant, and I did what I knew could help, and I was lucky. So yeah, these were the signs of my pregnancy before the BFP. Let me know if you had any other signs. I would love to know for my next pregnancy. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.